Hey comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0, and guys, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do a series that I will do every so often, and this is called Comic Spotlight. Now, I review most of my comic books over on Comic Frontline, but every once in a while when a comic stands out to me and I think you guys should really pick a comic book up, I'm going to do a Comic Spotlight. And today's Spotlight is a new #1, and this is called God Country. That's right, guys. This is from Image Comics, and as you can see here, as I scroll down on the actual picture, we get to see a twister and a man with a huge sword. So that's a really cool cover there. It's just awesome how exaggerated the sword is. You know, it's really badass. This actual issue is written by Donny Gates, and the artwork is done by Jeff Shaw. Now, if you guys are familiar kind of like with Sean Murphy's artwork and the coloring that goes along with this book, I feel that it's very similar to that. And this takes place obviously in the country. And you'll see why when I describe the book to you guys, but it's basically what happens is there's this god and it takes place in the country. So really the gist of the story is we get to see that there's this story that's being told. It's been told for generations to generations, and it's about these small-time people. Their last names are the Quinlans. And there's a mother, there's a daughter, and there is obviously a father, and then there's a grandfather. And the grandfather suffers from a terrible case of Alzheimer's. And what happens is we see the sheriff, he actually comes into town, and he talks to Roy, which is the father's name, and says, hey, your father's been wandering. It's been an issue. He almost hurt our police officers. Well, it took like 3 of us to take him down. And he's just advising the father to sit there and put him in a home. And this book is really emotional because I would feel that if you had anyone in your family suffering from Alzheimer's and they're a close family member, it's tough to see them go down that path. And he's advising them to put him in a home and whatnot. And he gets very violent. And as the issue progresses, we wind up seeing the grandfather coming down the stairs. And you can tell that he's totally out of it. He starts cursing and saying things that maybe you shouldn't want to say. Granddaughter winds up going down the stairs, and she winds up sitting there, and she's like, oh, I want to see Grandpa, you know, and she's going down the stairs, and the next thing he starts cursing, and he's like, get the fuck out of here, you know, and it's just heartbreaking to actually see that. So what happens is we see that the wife can't take it anymore. She threatens to leave. She says that, you know, the grandfather has to go into a home, or, you know, you took us, you misplaced, you moved us to, you know, out of our home to take care of him, and just things are not working out. And the father is just at all, he doesn't know what to do. You know, he feels that, you know, this is his dad. He feels that he must take care of him, and he lets his family go because he has to take care of his father. He feels that there's a responsibility at hand. So as the issue takes place, we wind up seeing that there's this killer storm, this killer tornado that's brewing, and it's insane, and there's very little warning. It comes out of nowhere. It brings some things with it. There's these wolves that are running around and all kinds of stuff. And then what happens is it makes its way to the Quinlan house, as you get to see here. I love the colors of this. You can see that it's like not a normal tornado. It's like very mysterious, got these weird colors and whatnot. And as it makes its way to the actual house, we get to see that it tears down the Quinlan household, and we get to see that the grandfather is involved in the whole situation. So what happens is the daughter and the mother wind up coming back home, and we see that the father wound up surviving, and what comes out of this tornado is this weird, like, shadow beast creature. And towards the end of the issue, we wind up seeing that all of a sudden Grandpa is alive and well, has this big ass sword, and starts slaying the actual demon. And the cool thing about this sword is it's like 12 feet long, which is awesome. But when he possesses this sword, he has his memory back. And he's just like normal. So that was really awesome to see that. And it's a really heartfelt moment because he's just like, he's like, when did I get so old? And then he remembers his granddaughter, and it was like almost like this like cool family reunion. It was so awesome to see that. And they give him a hug, and that's really, basically, that's how the end of the issue happens. But what happens is from afar, you wind up seeing this godlike warrior looking from the distance, something like from the Watcher or something like that. It was really cool to see. And then at the end of the issue, it just says to be, obviously, to be continued. So, what did I think about this actual book? I thought this book was phenomenal. It really surprised me. When I read the description of this book, I was like, quite interesting. Alzheimer's person suffering from huge dementia and things like that, and then he winds up getting cured of his Alzheimer's. And I was just curious to see how this story would play out. And even though I kind of knew the plot of the story already, I found myself very emotional, and I don't even have a relative that suffers from Alzheimer's, so I gotta see that it's very heartbreaking to, you know, read this. I'm sure it's relative for a lot of people, and then to get your memory back after you get this object is got to be outstanding for that family. So really cool stuff, and I love the artwork. I think the coloring really fits the book well because of the setting and the world that it takes place in. It'll be interesting to see how the world builds, if it takes place still in the country or if it does go into space. You know, there's so many like questions that I have of where this series goes from here, but it definitely does a great job at hooking you and wanting to read this second issue, and this is something different. I've never read anything like this before, so really great stuff. Can't wait to see or read issue number 2. I gotta give this book a 5 stars. I had a blast with it. So guys, leave me comments below on what you thought of God Country issue number 1 if you read it. And if you haven't, hopefully I changed your mind to go out there and purchase it if you can still purchase it. And hopefully you enjoyed Comic Spotlight. And again, I will bring this series as often as I feel like I need to spotlight a comic book. And fans, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. And until the next comic book review, this is Mike Spider signing off. Take care, guys. See you soon. Bye.